Imagine discovering something so groundbreaking, so disturbing, that the world collectively decides, yeah, let's never talk about that again. Hi. Welcome to the weird, wonderful, and occasionally horrifying world of science, where sometimes the most mind-blowing discoveries don't earn you a Nobel Prize. They get you blacklisted, ghosted by academia, or just buried in a dusty vault labeled "too creepy, do not open." Science is supposed to be about truth, right? Observation, experimentation, peer review, and repeat. But here's the thing. Not all truths are convenient. Some are terrifying. Others, just way too ahead of their time. And sometimes, society isn't ready for what science uncovers. So what happens? We ignore them. We lock them away. Or worse, we pretend they never existed. Today, we're diving into the darkest scientific discoveries that were either ignored, feared, or flat out buried. Strap in, because reality is about to get very uncomfortable. 1. The immortal cell line that took over the world without consent, aka the story of Henrietta Lacks. In 1951, a poor black woman named Henrietta Lacks went to Johns Hopkins for cancer treatment. Doctors took some of her cells without asking, standard practice back then, and discovered something eerie. Her cells didn't die. In fact, they divided endlessly. Scientists had found the first immortal human cell line, which they named HeLa. These cells were used to create polio vaccines, study cancer, even launch into space before dogs or humans. Space cells. But for decades, no one told her family. No consent, no royalties, nothing. Her body died. Her cells became immortal. Science advanced. Ethics did not. 2. The rat brain that lived. After death. It's not alive, but it's definitely not dead either. In 2019, Yale scientists pumped a special fluid through the severed heads of pigs, hours after they were killed. The result? Restored cellular activity in the brain. Let me rephrase. They made a dead brain kind of come back online. Neurons fired, blood vessels responded, cells worked. Now, they didn't bring consciousness back, no pigs were writing poetry, but the line between life and death. Suddenly, very blurry, the experiment was quietly shut down. But the question remains, if we can revive the dead, should we? 3. The plant that can count, remember, and learn. Oh great, now I'm afraid of my ficus. Enter the mimosa pudica, a plant that folds its leaves when touched. Cute, right? Well, in a study, scientists dropped the plant repeatedly to trigger the response. At first it panicked, folded up, defensive. But after a while, it stopped reacting. It learned the fall wasn't dangerous. It remembered. Even weeks later, it still ignored the drop. No brain, no neurons, just learning. And you know what we did with this finding? We ignored it. Because if plants can think, suddenly veganism isn't so morally clean-cut, is it? 4. The DNA that shouldn't exist life, but not as we know it. All life on Earth is built on 4 DNA bases, A, T, C, and G. They're the letters in the code of life. But in 2014, researchers added 2 new letters, X and Y, and created life forms that read and replicated this unnatural code. Let that sink in. We made alien DNA in a lab. This synthetic organism was technically a new form of life, not of Earth's design. And instead of announcing it to the world like a Marvel villain, the scientists kind of just went quiet. For safety reasons. Totally reassuring. 5. The split brain that lived 2 lives. There's someone else in here. In the 1960s, doctors performed surgeries cutting the corpus callosum, the bridge between the brain's 2 hemispheres. It was supposed to treat seizures, but something strange happened. Patients developed 2 consciousnesses. One hand would button a shirt, the other would unbutton it. One side could draw a shape, the other couldn't describe it. One part of the brain literally didn't know what the other was doing. Like two people in one skull. And instead of panicking over the implications of this, we just called it a neurological curiosity and moved on. Two minds, one body. What are we? Let's pause. At this point, you might be wondering, wait, is my houseplant plotting against me? Could I have an evil twin in my own brain? Or simply, why didn't I learn any of this in school? Exactly, because these aren't just fun sci-fi plots. These are real discoveries. But science isn't just about truth. It's about timing, politics, and whether the public can handle the truth. So what do we take away from this? Maybe the universe is way weirder than we're comfortable admitting. Maybe we're not as alone, or as simple, or as in control as we think. Or maybe science doesn't bury discoveries because they're false, but because they're true and terrifying. If this video made you question your existence, your salad, or your left brain, go ahead and hit that like button before reality collapses. Drop a comment. Which discovery messed you up the most? And subscribe for more strange truths, beautiful mysteries, and uncomfortable realities. Delivered with a smile and a brain itch. Until next time, stay curious, and maybe be a little nicer to your houseplants.